And hello. Welcome to the Scene Weekly podcast, where we harken back to our college debate days and pick two movies of the same theme to harken back to our grandparents' college debate days with our choices today of Golden Age of Movies Part 1. I'm sure there's going to be like 70 of these. This week's episode is focused on Only Angels Have Wings, riding alongside the Bicycle Thieves. And come join Jonathan and Steven for another week of desirably less plot chatter and hopefully more film banter. We are Scene Weekly, and welcome to our world. How are you, Steven?
Welcome to our world. We are live and in color, as opposed to these films that we're going to be discussing.
I see you as a dog would. So,
okay,
bone?
Black and white. What do you think about older films? Because I was discussing this with some coworkers that I was doing a podcast on old movies, and somebody referenced like a movie from 2006 as an old movie. And I'm just like,
how
really?
old is the person that you were talking and having this conversation with?
I mean, they were probably 3 years old in 2006.
Oh my God. I don't know what to do with that information, but yeah, I old movies I would consider to be, what is 1948's mine? What is yours? Only Angels Have Wings?
1939.
Yeah, that was before my mom was born in 1946. And if your grandparents were kicking it and born, of course, then I would say that's old.
Yeah.
No offense to all the grandparents out there. Love you. But that's old.
If you could go to a movie theater with spare change in your pocket, that's an old movie.
I think, you're overlooking a lot, because oftentimes I think people actually do go to a show with change randomly in their pocket. Do you mean to pay for the show with spare
That's what
change?
I was alluding to. I thought you could cross that bridge, but
I couldn't. Yeah, I just want to make it clear to the viewers out there and listeners on Spotify that he actually meant to pay for everything. Yeah. How much was it when you first started going to movies? Do you recall? I remember it being like $4.
Yeah, it was around $4 or $5. You could go to a matinee. I remember there was like a matinee theater that would it was like $1 or $2 if you went to the matinee. I mean, yeah, it was cheap. And it was a time when, like, did you ever as a kid like have a birthday party and you'd go to the movies?
Never.
No?
I've never had a birthday party. No, I actually never had a birthday party where you went to the movies. The only memory I have of birthday parties was, boy, my parents got divorced, and then for my mom, I don't know, just wanted to throw a birthday for me. I had one at Skate Mania in Ocala, Florida, and shout out Chris Harrell, and he was there, and as well as a variety of my other friends. But other than that, I really didn't have birthdays. I didn't have any birthdays to answer your question. No birthdays at the movie theater.
Or you went to somebody else's birthday and they had a birthday party. Okay, you just weren't invited. Yeah, roller rinks, laser tags, those were the big ones. But yeah,
I was in the poor part of town. We were having a birthday is at somebody's house always.
Backyard gathering.
Always, yeah. I shouldn't say that poor, but
do you have birthday parties now?
Not really. No, not for us. No, I don't have any. It sounds really lame that I say it out loud. Like, we don't really participate in the annual anniversary of people's births. That's sad. What about you? I feel like you've got a question in hand that I'm just beating you around to answer no, but I should just lie and say yes. Of course I do. Steven, tell me about your story.
I know I don't have any stories.
I'd love to hear about it.
I don't really celebrate birthdays either. I think once you get past a certain age, like 21, birthday parties typically don't come to fruition. Although this year we might have a celebration.
I can think of evidence to the contrary when you lived in Colorado, for which this would be substantially wrong and countered. In terms of birthdays, some people have joint birthdays.
That's true.
Yeah, but there is that. But one of us is turning 40 this year. Are you excited about that? Speaking of birthdays,
not excited about the the climbing the ladder in age. But I am excited about a potential trip to Italy, aka referencing a previous podcast.
It's not a potential, it is a trip. There's a trip coming. It's
Yeah.
either to Rome or Naples. Depends on the time period. But it's gonna be fun. But anyway, black and white movies. Do you remember the first black and white movie you saw?
Oh man. Um, not really. No, I can't think of like the first black and white movie. Maybe Gone with the Wind. The Wizard of Oz. I guess you could count the first part of that as.
I don't know if the wind is color.
Is it color? Then look at me.
Yeah.
I have no clue what I'm talking about. I'm not even supposed to be on this
Frankly,
podcast.
dear, I don't give a damn. Um,
But yeah, Wizard of Oz, probably that one. It being the first half of it being in
Wizard
black
of
and white.
Oz is oh okay, yeah, that's fair. Um, isn't that the first Technicolor movie? Maybe it's the second or third. I can't recall. But
What
Wizard,
about you? Do you have a firm memory of your first black and white movie?
What a Wonderful Life.
Okay.
Dingleberries Are Us.
Is
One
that
of
a real
those.
title?
One of those is the rule. Did you get my book I sent you? 3 Felonies a Day.
I did. Yeah, it's sitting right in
Look at
front of
that.
me.
Fair enough. Have you read it?
I read the back cover.
Mm, that's good.
Yeah.
Opposed to the front cover, which probably just had a picture. Yeah, I don't know actually. Now that I'm trying to think about it, I don't know. But I did stray away for an extended period of time. Black and white movies. I didn't particularly, you know, uh, grandparents would watch them, and my mom would talk about them, and I was like, I don't care about this sort of things. I wanted to watch Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Home Alone.
Yeah.
You know, why would I want to watch a black and white dumb movie? Come on, it's silly.
I think
And
everybody
now,
I think everybody's in that boat. You're like, I'm not going to watch something that was made during my grandparents' time. It's not going to relate to me. There's not going to be any themes that touch me. Come on.
isn't that so funny as we do that in humanity? We like to perpetuate that, oh, of course, we're like the smarter version of our parents. And of course, they haven't gone through the same issues as us. And of course, we're just not going to find the same themes repeated over and over and over. You basically go back to like Babylonian times in the Enuma Elish, and they're probably still talking about bullshit 5,000 years ago. And it's identical to what we're still going through. He said this, she said that. I'm having an issue with it. This is how we're going to proceed.
Somebody died.
Yeah, yeah. I'm having tax problems. Can somebody assist me? Yeah, we all go through the same stuff. Just a repeat. Sometimes it just takes us longer to understand the complexities of life, and sometimes testosterone or maybe estrogen. Who knows? Hormones change us and think we're better than they are. But yeah, I'm glad. Probably in my teenage years, I transitioned to watching black and white films, and I remember watching The Kid,
Charlie Chaplin.
but for the first time, I was probably man. This was like right before I met you, so maybe in like the 2000 2001 area of life. And I remember watching that. So I was 22 years old, and I just remember watching it, and somebody that a former friend of mine, walked in into my room, and as I'm watching it, and he was like, "What the fuck are you watching?" And I was like,
That's like a
that's
reaction
aggressive.
if you were watching like a sex scene or something like
Yeah,
that. Black and
yeah.
white film.
And like The Kid, there's silent, so it's like there's a lot going on in my view, but there wasn't a lot going on in this brute of a human being's view. But I remember that moment thinking, um, some people just continue having that emotion, like you're saying, like, I'm not going to watch this because what can I actually glean from it? It has the same themes. My parents and grandparents liked it, so there's no way I can like it, right? And I think that was the immediate reaction that I got. But I don't know. I never really had that for very long, I would say. And I adore movies from this time period, and that's why I said there's probably going to be 70 of these. I loved this week. It was fantastic.
Yeah, this week was a lot of fun. And it's interesting, watching these older movies and seeing and just having the idea of like how movies have been built and the directors that are inspired by these films, and you can kind of see like these little glimmers of inspiration and technique that happen from these films later on, which is really cool.
It's very cool, man. It's just so fascinating if you think about in the 30s and 40s just what was like happening, in post-war areas. And I mean, you could really see it in the Bicycle Thieves, where they're just the livelihood of the human beings. Man, it's devastating. And then complete opposite end of the spectrum of the movie, and I'm getting immediately into both, which I like the merging of the two, is the creating of like worlds in this time period is so, I don't want to say it's more fun, but it's more focused and heavy on like what you would see in like theater. And I really like movies that are theatrical like this. Like really do. Like Only Angels Have Wings, like Streetcar Named Desire, for example. I mean, it comes from Tennessee Williams' play, but like
Right.
that type of effort really truly enjoy. And I actually would appreciate like Glenn Ross would have that effect. I would think of a newer film that's not
Yeah.
black and white.
It's a contained
Um,
space, and it's like they're on stage, and that's the thing
it's so
with
fun.
Only Angels Have Wings is built as an adventure story, and there's definitely parts of adventure in there, but the main story takes place in between four walls in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
bar restaurant.
Just a
Uh,
yeah, yeah, bar restaurant basically. But it's so, I don't know. I'm racking my brain trying to think of like exactly a movie that could do this now or has done it. And it seems like the elaborate either CGI, just remove all CGI movies. I think
one movie that comes to mind is the Quentin Tarantino movie, The Hateful Eight, because
that's a good one.
it
Yeah, yeah,
basically
in that
takes
room
place
and
in
underneath,
a cabin.
technically.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The one single room without walls. That's actually a good point, and one in which I love The Hateful Eight. I saw that in theaters, and then I immediately illegally streamed it at home, and I've since purchased it, mind you. Tarantino and others, please don't come after me. Somebody else did it. I just watched. But I adore that setting. It doesn't have to be in necessarily one room, but I adore the setting of like actually having a setup that's similar to theater and replicates the emotion that actually comes with it for what it's worth. There always seems to be like plays that are fully executed well, or vice versa, like movies that could be executed as a play, which this clearly could. I don't know how they're going to fly the planes, but they have four horses now, so I'm sure they can do whatever they want. It's very enjoyable. Loved it.
Yeah, it's all about, I mean, stage plays and things like that. It's all about dialogue. And the dialogue is so snappy, especially in Only Angels Have Wings. It's overlapping dialogue. It's very Robert Altman-esque in that sense of just, it's snappy, it's great, and it's funny.
Cary Grant
Man, oh man.
is a man's oh man. He's a man's man. Boy, he just is like, I don't know. It's funny, when I was growing up, my mom would always, she loved Cary Grant, would always talk about Cary Grant. Maybe a little too much now that I think about it. First crush, who knows? And I didn't know who he was. I didn't watch any movies, but again, it took a while. But in my later teenage years, I started watching black and white films and eventually stumbled to him. Big fan, always have been since I first time. But just huge fan of his. So I mean, he would be a top 10 actor in my view.
Yeah, and
Ever.
this is a turning point. I feel like in his filmography, because he was very in the '30s screwball comedies, and that's what he was in. And this is where he's this leading man that it's a funny movie in some respects, but it's also very you know a portrait study of a character who has all of these deep seated emotions and it's an incredible performance.
Yeah, no, I mean he's great. It just it the entirety of the film throughout made me laugh for heartache and laugh for actual laughter. Like it's rare that films can do like a laughter of both, or maybe I'm sadistic. I don't know. It could be a strangest of both, but big fan. Like black and white films, I think I could probably be happy doing black and white films for at least 10 more of these, but I'm sure other people will say otherwise. So how are we going to do this?
Yeah, kind of break it down. Have you seen? I'm sure you've seen Bicycle Thieves before. I'm not sure. Did you ever watch Only Angels Have Wings? Is that something that was on your radar?
You asked me last week, and the answer was yes, but it had been a very long period of time. Um, but I had seen Bicycle Thieves. I don't remember when I first saw it, but I haven't seen it that many times. Probably this is maybe four time I've seen it. I saw it with my wife. I saw it originally. Maybe it's the third time I've seen it. Um, but each time it's a hitter. It's a
Yeah.
hitter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I got to see this
Enjoyable.
in film school, and it was like one of those not always the best viewing experiences in film school because we had basically a lab hour. Or it was 2 hours
Yeah, yeah.
where you'd have to sit in a dark
Oh, with
room
everyone else.
at 9 a.m. Yeah, yeah, it was like probably
Oh,
20 uncomfortable seats, and it's 9 a.m. and you're in college and you might be a little hungover and you're watching a black and white film. And it's not like the best viewing experience all the
yeah,
time. So I got a lot more out of it on this rewatch for sure.
yeah. Do you like my shirt, by the way?
I was trying to think. Are you like trying to get into golf or what's going
Hmm.
on here?
Does it look very much like a golf shirt?
It looks like you're about to go on the eighth hole and maybe get a bogey.
It's interesting you chose eight. Wonder why you chose eight. I like your shirt. Saves the day. So I went for a work event, and I was wearing my last year's away jersey, but it has a collar, small collar. It's like a half collar. So the Manchester City away jersey last year, like the maroon and pinkish white, whatever it is, and it was a nice place. And I golf once a year at this event every year. Not a if I ever, I always thought if I ever got good at golf, like other things in my life are lacking, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want to get so good at golf that other things in my life are lacking, such as this podcast, for example. Although, but anyway, I was there wearing the shirt. The guy who was, I don't know who he was. To be honest, he could have been bullshitting me, supervisor, whatever he was. Ah, you're a soccer fan. It's like, yeah, yeah. I was like getting excited. Want to talk about Manchester City? Thought it was maybe he supported another team. He's like, and I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. You like soccer? He's like, yeah, that's great. This is golf. So get another shirt. And I was like, can you just tell me what? First of all, and like,
That's kind of
my
aggressive.
my question to him though was posed. Can you tell me my cart number, which was 17N? And his reply was, "Oh, you like soccer?" I was like, "What is happening?" So then I was a little bit antagonistic, to be fair, and he pointed me in the direction of getting a new golf shirt because I had to buy one. And then I grabbed this. Guy took off all the tags, and I found another one that was better. It's a little too big, and I didn't really like this. I was in a rush, and then I grabbed another, so I bought two golf shirts. I've never owned a golf shirt in my life, mind you, so I don't even know what a golf shirt really looks like, nor do I have many friends who golf regularly. Swipe it before the swipe of the card in a bag. Total is $259. And I'm like, holy shit.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Sounds about right. I didn't say anything. I was flummoxed in my head and I was like, that's outrageous. Like
It's like
you're telling me 125 a shirt? That's
yeah,
outrageous.
it's like the alpha flies.
129 a shirt.
It lowers your handicap by like 3 strokes. Pretty crazy.
It does not do anything. I mean, maybe wicks moisture in a nice fashion. It doesn't look good. It's not fashionable. It's terrible. And now I have to wear this shirt, so people are gonna have to like be bombarded with polka dots. Of is this what colors? Is it blue? Is it purple? I don't even know. I'm colorblind. You're colorblind too. Why am I
Yeah, don't
asking?
ask me.
I don't know. Anyway, that's why I'm wearing this stupid shirt. I'm actually angry. Still about the situation, but nonetheless, I have to call myself out. I hate the shirt too, and that man that made me buy it. But nonetheless, black and white. We should have done this in black and white. Can you make this a black and white
I can change the
episode?
saturation level. And then I can't wait till we do the silent film era because it's gonna be a great podcast.
Do you know how to sign?
Yeah, I can do the alphabet.
Wow. Can you do words then? It would take you a while, but yeah. You know, my daughter, when we're talking about planets, she learned Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Those are the planets that we know of, which is funny. They removed
Where's
Pluto.
Pluto?
They removed Pluto, and they said that that's what we know so far. I found it hysterical when she learned this, but we'll be like, "Oh, is Jupiter a planet?" And she go, "I don't know. Let me check." And then she'll sing the song out loud: Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Yes, Jupiter is a planet. Do you have another? Do you have another one you could provide to me? And I'm like, and if I do Mercury, she's like, "That's too easy. That's too quick.
It's the first. Yeah,
I want to sing the song. Like this isn't about that." And I'm like, "Okay, Neptune is Neptune one. Mercury, Venus. I don't know. Let me check the Rolodex. Let me check my Google." I actually laugh hysterically every time she does it. It's really funny to me. But anyway, I don't know how we got here, but nonetheless, color is coming next week, but not this week. The blood is draining next week to people. The blood of zombies.
zombies.
So anyway, Bicycle Thieves. I'm just gonna go first. Can I go first?
Yeah, let's have you go first this week.
Did I go first last week?
Even though my movie came out before your movie, but
Then why don't you do yours? Mine's a little more saturated and sad, but so it might be best if I go last. Then
okay, all right.
let's get happy. Let's get happy first.
Twist
right?
my arm here. Okay, we're in 1939. Howard Hawks movie "Only Angels Have Wings." It's starring Cary Grant, Jean Arthur, and a little splash of Rita Hayworth. It's produced by Columbia Pictures. This is during the studio system, so I think it's important to mention that. Didn't have a budget I could find. Box office 1 million, even 1 mil. Not sure what that converts in today's dollars. Rotten Tomatoes, it didn't exist back then, but we get a score of 100%. And it only got nominated for one Oscar that year. Can you guess which Oscar that was, Jonathan?
I for some reason I would guess I don't know the categories, so and I don't want you to give me the categories, but what would be like? I don't know. I don't know the categories.
So it was just nominated for one Oscar. It was special effects, and it didn't win.
So that's what I was looking for, but not special effects. I was looking for like the backdrops in the plane,
yeah.
Special effects.
Set design or something like that.
Set design was really what I was going for. Yeah.
But 1939 was a loaded year at the movies. Gone with the Wind, Wizard of Oz, Stagecoach, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Wuthering Heights, and many more. So it was a loaded year for sure.
I did see that, and a lot of people consider this to be the greatest year in cinema history. And
it's up there.
I think it's up there. The debate point in that it happened pretty early in the life of just movies.
Yeah.
And they're all happening in this one year. It's kind of like the first album of like an artist coming out where just people are firing and cinema just starts and people are firing. But or second maybe. But what a great year. Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz. You just stop there. It's like, what? That's holy shit. Very good. Have you seen Gone with the Wind?
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's one of those like just it's a long watch movie.
Yeah, it's got intermission.
It's back when movies had intermission. It's great for the bladder. But yeah, this is an interesting plot. We are transported to a South American fictional country, city of Barranca, and you're basically in meeting the people that live there, and it's a ragtag crew of pilots that are stationed there, and they have one job to do. And that job is to deliver the mail. Not very high stakes here, but with weather permitting, it can be very dangerous. So they got to deliver the mail through the Andes, um, and that's their mission. Uh, this is when we meet Jean Arthur, who comes off the banana boat and is greeted by two pilots. They kind of stalk her a little bit, kind of
They
creepy.
kind of stalk her.
It's a very creepy moment in the beginning.
It's
It's like,
not. It's ladies and gentlemen's. If you ever watch this movie, this is not kind of a stalking. This is an immediate stalk, and it's one of those things that you could tell the clear difference. Clearly, my boom mic over here is not working too well, but it's one of those things that is like so evidently apparent in the difference between like our cultures now and then, and also Cary Grant's behavior is very evidently clearly different. But like it's they're preying on her now. If this were to be a movie set in 2024.
yeah, I mean, it's basically they see this beautiful girl come off the boat, and all it's just like their tongues hit the floor like a cartoon or something like that. They're just
That's
like
exactly it.
hubba
Like they
hubba.
just got out of jail. And there's the first woman.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
She's kind of creeped out by it, but once they start speaking English, she's like, "Oh, you're American. Oh, okay. I'll go and have some steaks with you." But yeah, she's basically just a short trip off the boat. She's traveling entertainer, and it's supposed to be a quick trip. But she meets this ragtag group of pilots and decides to kind of stick around, especially after she meets Jeff. Um, Jeff is played by Cary Grant. He is the main guy, the leader of the group. Um, yeah, and like I said, their whole thing is to deliver the mail through the dangerous, treacherous Alps, and that's kind of the movie. Like it's a play on masculinity. It's a play on you know women and what their desires are or lack of. But yeah, it's a interesting character study of like these people that are kind of forced to be together and deal with death right in the face. Like that first 20 minutes of the movie, you think it's lighthearted, fun, everything's hunky dory. They're charming this girl, and then up, we got to deliver the mail. Joe, it's your turn. Got to go, and then Joe dies.
And
Flip of a
and
switch.
and seemingly it's not that nobody cares. It's that everyone has kind of signed off their own existence in this Barranca place, which is a fictitious place, and kind of living on the edge of excitement
Oh, they're definitely
to
living on
be
the edge.
there, but resigned to the fact that death could come for each and every one of them. But at the same time, embracing it to the extent that they have to, because to be there they have to. And secondarily, it's not like they don't hold the people who have died in high or low regard, but it's kind of like the reason they're there to begin with is the excitement of living that life. And if somebody were to die, well, it's kind of comes with the territory here. And they gather his things and split them up as each person kind of comes and goes. But it was a little weird though at Joe's passing. It's just like dude's coming back for a steak, keep it warm for him, and dead. There he goes. Like, and then let's split his stuff up, and nobody cares but one
Bonnie.
person. Yeah, Bonnie. And then Bonnie was caring for about a few minutes, and then she's playing the piano. The next shot, and I'm like, this is a whirlwind of emotion, and I don't know what to do with it. And then I just kind of embraced it as well. Like, all right, people are going to die. People are going to get over it pretty quickly. And that's this place, Barranca. By the way, I'm going to repeat this maybe 7 more times. I love this environment that's been created. I love other worlds. Like, so the first like 20 minutes of Lord of the Rings, like
The
the building of
Shire.
yeah, the building of the Shire and the New World. I love New Worlds. Harry Potter. I know I love New World building, but I really enjoy it, and it makes me think I'm going to very much enjoy going back to the theater. But I like Barranca a lot. Like I wish it was an actual place. And I looked it up.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn it! They make the place too good. But I understand why people want to like they watched Avatar and wanted to kill themselves because the place didn't actually exist.
And it's interesting. I mean, put yourself back in 1939 as a moviegoer. You most of the population, couldn't travel to far off distant lands and things like that. And movies were their escape, just like movies are an escape today. But we have the means, obviously, to how many countries have you traveled to, Jonathan? A lot. You've
6.
seen a lot of the world. This was a chance for moviegoers, the general population, to kind of be transported to the Andes and to a South American port town. And yeah, the world building was so cool. Even
So
though
cool.
even though that 80% of the movie is set inside a
No,
bar
no, no.
restaurant.
You need 3 shots. The entry, the intro of
Yeah.
them walking through the streets of Barranca, right? And like getting off the boat. You need that one. That sets it. You can have the inside and then the outside world of them like flying a plane. Those three together, look, I mean, is it going to be if you get down to the nitty gritty of it, like, is it CGI? No, but I think this is actually better. It is better in my opinion. It's better. I would actually take this more than I. I'd be hard pressed to if you were to say like Lord of the Rings and be like, okay, the CGI in Lord of the Rings is it's probably it's better, and that's one of you're debating like one of the best movies ever made, Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
biggest,
But
one of the best worlds ever built ever, and one of the books that has like garnered interest. But let's be honest, like most CGI movies, and I would say almost all CGI movies do not match this. At least what I for me.
it's because you can clearly tell that it's a green screen. And
Yeah, and green screen actors just yeah.
it doesn't do it for me. Like just having the practical sets that are built, and the actual seeing them walking through the port town, whatever little you get of it,
So cool.
you are transported into that fictional town of Barranca, and it's really cool. It's you as the moviegoer are basically Bonnie is your surrogate, and you're kind of coming along with her and kind of seeing this world and the relationships and what death means to them. I'll kind of jump on one of my favorite kind of quotes here is where Bonnie, after Joe dies and she sees the steak, and she's like to Jeff, "How can you eat that?" And he's like, "What? Eat that steak? Well, what's the matter with it?" It was his, Joe's. Well, what
Yeah,
do you want me to do with it? Have it stuffed?
yeah. But that's where you immediately realize, okay, this is a different world out here.
It's a different world.
We're gonna get over things fairly quickly, and this is what we all signed up for. And that if you're here for an extended period of time, which Bonnie eventually does, extend her time, well, that's what you're gonna get. At least you know exactly what you're gonna get, and I appreciate that
Yeah.
for the people.
Have you have you ever gotten a little tipsy or drunk and realized that you had to do something that required some kind of skill? Not saying driving or something like that, not flying a plane, but would you ever like just get a pitcher of water and dump it on your head?
No, I wouldn't. Did
Kind of
I mess
sober up
up?
a little bit?
No, I have been in a position where I had to call somebody in a serious capacity, and it was late at night on a Friday, like 9:30 p.m. I was about to go to sleep, and I was drunk, and the call had to happen, but it didn't have to happen at like 9:29 p.m. But it did at 9:30, and so I had to take the call and walk through something that was needed and required intelligence. Not to go into the details here of this, but like it was interesting, and I also had to be on camera. So
Oh wow.
I think it went well. I think it went well. But I have done I've done something like that. Yeah, I have also heard of people like, for example, I think I haven't I just told this story to you. My wife and I, we were in Chile. This does not ring a bell. We were
No.
in We were in Santiago. We had a lovely day, just walking up mountain or this hills and whatnot. There, very warm. And then this is when we were buying boxed wine, and the boxed wine basically didn't have an indication of how large it was or what percentage of wine it was, but we didn't look hard enough. Come to find out later, and both of which presented themselves easily identifiable. But we were already drunk to begin with, and then we bought more wine and got back, drank all of that white cheap boxed wine, and what happened was she passed out, and I started to get scared. And then I look at the boxed wine, realizing what the percentage was much higher than we were anticipating. Because we were like, boxed wine sometimes is like 8% or something, 9%.
Yeah,
And I was like,
it's
oh, this is going to be whatever. It was like 15. And
whew.
then it wasn't, for example, I can't remember the exact sizes. Instead of a liter, it was like 2 liters, something along those lines, you know? And that posed a problem for all of us. I was like, wow, I'm really drunk. And then I look at her and she's passed out. I was trying to wake her up, and that didn't work. And then I put her in the shower and turn it on, and she's Korean, and and Korean's her first language. So the immediate waking up moment was like every cuss word, "Shipal," like just screaming at me, and the water, which is directly in her face, mind you. So that has to be like terrible, right? You're
Yeah.
literally being sprayed in the face with cold water. Could you imagine? It's never happened to me, but that sucks. But she woke up. That was, what I was hoping for. But she was fine. But she didn't have to do anything afterwards except for just sleep.
Yeah, and
It's my
it
story, and I'm
requires
sticking
no
to it.
skill.
Yeah, yeah. Just
But yeah, that's what Cary Grant does when he gets. I mean, there's a lot of drinking, shot taking, and cigarettes in this film. And I get Sign of the Times, 1939. That's what people were doing. I mean, people still drink and smoke today, but I don't think it's as prevalent on camera as much as it was back then.
I love
Uh,
cigarettes in film. Love cigarettes in film. I want more of it.
uh, Hopefully this week made your fill because there was a lot.
Yeah, I used to
Um,
smoke. I started smoking primarily just to see how fast I could run. And so I started smoking like a pack a day. But like, I wonder if you can run like a 430 mile, and I ran 428 um, back like 15 years ago. So not a wise decision though. What a stupid idiot I was. But nonetheless, I'm a big fan of smoking and drinking and movies. I like it. It's just normal life, and it's also very this world, like consistent
yeah,
smoking and drinking. Like, what
and
else
I
do
like
you
the
have?
I like the little touch that Jeff's character never carries around a lighter or matches.
Yeah,
He's like I don't want to load myself with these things because tomorrow I could be gone, and that's the fact of life. Um,
which is, of all of the things not to carry, matches, you want to make that play, like, do it with something else. Do you know what I mean? Like, why matches? Those are utilized so frequently, clearly.
he's
But I
always
think,
you got to match. You got
yeah,
to
but I
match.
think to me, it reminds me of somebody who maybe is forcing themselves to have a conversation with another person, which I like. You ever
Yeah,
do that? You ever do that where you're like, Kurt Vonnegut used to do this, where he wouldn't have the newspaper delivered to him. He'd go down to the local store in New York and actually buy one. So he'd be forced to like talk to the guy every day, and he got to know him. And it's like the communication that's required to be a human. I think oftentimes people actually create these. It's like
these
not a rule
walls, these
set.
barriers. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So he probably did that purposefully to have himself talk to somebody. That's
that's
how at least I'm
I,
thinking.
I like that
It's
part of the
nice.
character. Yeah,
Me
it's
too.
very nice.
Yeah.
Um, Another kind of trait of Jeff is somebody mentioned like he's the Han Solo before Han Solo. Like he's like the that's who he is, right? He doesn't get too sentimental until a point, and that's when that happens. It's earned so much in this movie. That's what I love about this movie
Yeah.
is like there's all this buildup, and when the payoff happens, when the close up happens, it's earned. It's not forced. Um, and that's just great writing. But yeah, we have Jeff, and he's the leader of this crew, and they have to deliver the mail, and I believe they have to do it for 6 months without missing a day to get this government contract. That's kind of what they're up against, and it's interesting to set this like just as like the idea of delivering mail as the danger when World War II is kind of going on, and you could easily have this like as a wartime movie. Uh, but it's not. The stakes are pretty low. Of like, yeah, you just gotta fly up the mountains in the fog and deliver this mail.
Everything
But
is made like that. Like
yeah,
nothing. There's people are dying, and it's just like, yeah, well, okay. Like nothing is taken that seriously. But I think deep down inside, everything is, they understand what they're doing.
you got this relationship with Jeff and Kid. Kid's been flying 22 years, but he's about to be grounded, and
Why?
the way that Jeff tests him is with an eye test. First test, Kid aces it. It's like he's not even looking at the eye test. He just knows it. Well, guess what? Jeff pulls out another eye test out of the desk. He knows that Kid has been memorizing the letters on the eye test, so puts up this one again. Kid gets it right. That fourth line from the top. Jeff is getting suspicious. He pulls out another test, and this is a weird test. This is a depth of field box matching up the strings test. And that's when Jeff realizes, Kid, you just don't got it anymore. Your eyes are failing you. And when your eyes fail you as a pilot, what happens? You get your wings taken.
You
And
go
he
to
gets
the
grounded.
sub. Oh,
He gets grounded. But then in comes a new character, Bat McPherson. And this is an interesting twist. I love how this movie it's interwoven with all these different types of storylines and characters and relationships, which makes it really really fun to kind of just hang out and watch and understand what these motivations are between them. And Bat is an interesting recall into this whole dynamic. When you say,
I mean, every character that gets introduced, I would say, is just a weird wrinkle. But I have two questions to pose to
sure,
you. Have you ever fought over a girl before?
I've never gotten into like a fist fight per se. Are you saying physical altercation?
Mm-hmm. Or just
No.
been like, we're gonna, duke it out with words in the sense of
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I got more game than you. Let's see who can get the girl. Even that.
No, no, I I never had that what is it? A love triangle kind of thing? No.
There is one example that comes immediately to mind that I feel like you could have fought someone. That would have been
Oh,
like I would have probably helped you beat up the person,
was that
but
shout out
nonetheless,
Kim? Kim with a Y?
see, I wasn't gonna go there.
Wherever
But
you are.
anyway, I have my second like more serious question and legitimate question that I'm unsure of the answer, and it's one in which that I've gone a little obsessive trying to think about this and how things are different now. And I mean this, I mean things are different. Basically and simply put, I feel like movies on average, or pound for pound, and the actual weight of the movies themselves can almost in an impatient manner manifest drama and tragedy in a very shortened amount of time compared to now. And so like you can basically get off the boat, and I don't know if it's like the overture of like the time period, there's war in the back of your head and there's other things in the back of your mind that are framing what you're seeing, but that could the same thing could be said now if there's Vietnam wars, for example, or whatever it might be. And I'm even talking about like Apocalypse Now and movies such as that. Like it's I don't know what it is, and I don't know if it's the theatrical side, and I mean theatrical specifically in theater, infected in movies. But how is it so possible that there's almost an impatience, and it needs no time to set up drama in early cinema? And I consider this early cinema, but like, or not super early, but why? Why do you think that is? I know it's a really tough question, but it's
No, this
hard to.
it's an interesting question, and I think it goes to your point that a lot of these directors and writers got their start on stage, and they continued to do side stage plays and things like that. Even like I was listening to a documentary about Sidney Lumet and how he started in television and did plays and like still like was making movies and working in theater as well. And I
Yeah,
think that has a direct correlation of how these films are written and how they play out. And it's different. It's a different mindset than saying like I'm just going to take this and I'm going to make it fit the screen in a way that can only be derived in movie form, which this can be derived in many ways.
it's it's just so cool and something I appreciate. And it's not just about only angels have wings. It's about this, like, I don't know, probably 30 to 40 years of film that basically you can just get jumped into the first like 5 minutes of a movie and be like, wow, this would take 20 minutes to get character construction, character build up for now. And I feel like we should take some notes, to be honest, like how to do this in a current day form, without with being true to form is be really nice to see this again. I want to see this type of movie like now, like more theater influence.
Yeah, it's really cool how with this cast there's so many different characters, but each one is defined so clearly and so well.
Oh yeah,
And and it's quick too, how it happens
super
by
fast.
and it's not just by dialogue, but it's by circumstance, like how things happen and how the plot develops and what the choices have to be made around the characters and who comes in and penetrates the characters, whether it's Rita Hayworth being the old ex-flame of Jeff.
Yeah.
It's just really interesting to see how these characters are defined so quickly, like you said. But
I
um,
think I have an answer. It's it's more thought out. Like, for example, not having matches on him for Jeff. That it's more like poetry, opposed to things being derived from non, like being shown things. Um, you kind of understand the person's character almost immediately, and you can extrapolate kind of his decision making going forward. Okay, if he doesn't have any matches for that particular reason and he's living on a day-to-day place, like you can kind of like make his decisions for him moving forward just in that one moment of like he doesn't carry matches for that reason.
it tells you so much about the character
Yeah,
and
you know
just
him
that one little
immediately.
thing.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think they it's interesting. I don't know, I feel like I could write a film school essay about this. It's fascinating to me, but anyway, not to.
Even with like I said, introducing Bat McPherson, um, and he comes in, and you're kind of like, wait a minute, they recognize him. Oh, he's under a new name because, and you just have this quick little backstory that he was in a plane that was going down, and he ejected himself and saved himself while the mechanic perished. And we
Yeah,
find out very quickly that the mechanic is Kid's brother.
yeah,
Um, and so there's immediate tension there. And Jeff's girlfriend, Rita Hayworth, has no idea why everybody is shunning him. She wants to find out, but she has no idea why. And this was a career-making performance for Rita Hayworth. This was her like breakout hit. Um, she's beautiful, and I don't think she's the best actress in it, but she's beautiful, and she has a funny enough a clear tie to Bicycle Thieves, if you noticed.
no, I don't.
When he's hanging up posters before his bicycle gets stolen, it's a poster of Rita Hayworth.
Oh yeah, oh that's what you mean. Yeah, yeah. I thought you meant like,
Just a little link there. Um,
I thought you meant an actual like, so she wasn't in Bicycle Thieves,
no.
nor anyone that's related to her. What are you talking about? They're all like non-actors. I was trying to like think through like I don't even know what you're getting at. Yeah,
But yeah,
anyone ladder.
I like the idea of like we're supposed to immediately kind of be as a viewer kind of hold this grudge against Bat McPherson. He's hiding who he is. He did this kind of horrible thing. But I mean, at the same time, we don't know the full backstory or his side of the story of it. And this later plays out in a very symmetrical way at the near the end of the film, where Bat McPherson and Kid are flying through the Andes to make that last mail delivery, and shit goes down.
Boy,
And then
does it.
we get to see a little bit more of his true nature. And he's an interesting character, and he's actually a good character, um, as we were supposed to believe.
Yeah, it was fun. I liked I liked it overall. How does it end?
Calling Baranka, calling Baranka. That was a character in of itself. Um, it ends with, so we have Jeff. He is stoic. He is a masculine man. He is not going to settle or have any woman settle him. He is going to keep flying. And that's kind of why he's not been able to, have a lady in his life, because every lady in his life wants him to lay down the dangerous path, wants him to, just stop flying, because every time you go up there, I worry that you might die, and I can't live that way.
But why does Bonnie like Jeff so much? Let's be honest. I'm gonna attack the movie now. Like, why does she like him so much? And why does she like the only man
Head
that's like,
over heels.
but like the only man that's like, because clearly men are voracious. Why? Why does she like him so much?
I think she likes the danger. She likes
Yeah,
the
most men
I
were
mean,
dangerous back then.
but he's got this kind of, he's Cary Grant too. It's-
It's just like there's so many opportunities to exit through the gift shop, and it's not happening. And Bonnie's just like just crazy lady staying for all the shits and giggles. I just kept thinking like, why is she still staying? And I was like, oh, she must be crazy just like Jeff. So maybe they are good for each other. Who knows?
they're good for each other, yeah. And
One
then
for your steak.
the uh, the whole ending of this movie hinges on what happened earlier with Kid, and he's always flipping this coin. I thought that was interesting. I was like, "This is this going to play out later?" It sure
Yeah.
does. Um, and this coin is a two-sided coin. It is heads on both sides, and it's kind of like you make your own luck, right? So
Yeah.
that's the ending of this film had me, man. I like literally watched it and then rewound it and watched it again, because it was just so good. So good how it played out. But basically Cary Grant is he needs to fly back up there because the fog is cleared and they can finally make that last mail delivery. And Bonnie's like, I won't stay for you. You have to ask me to stay. You have to ask me. And he's like, all right, here it is. Heads you stay, tails you go. Flips it, gives
Yeah.
it to her as a good luck charm. And then once he's off, she realizes that the coin is double sided, and he just basically asked her to stay. Cue the music.
Our music or theirs. Um, I had something to mention that I got into what you were actually saying, and it was actually quite important. And I completely forgot. But I like the ending of it. It was a very fun way to end it, and also abrupt, just like the entirety of the exact, pretty much everything that happened in this film, and everything that happens in like this whole golden age of cinema. Things just very very abruptly stop or start, and I like that. It's just like get in or get out, like get off the ride, or you're not tall enough, you're not riding. I like that. I enjoyed like the plane cutscenes as well.
And I
It's
thought it was great.
not very smooth editing, of course. I mean, but what they compared to now, I should be clear. But again, it was like theater.
And
Um,
the models that they made, like every time you saw the plane landing through that rain soaked field, it's clearly a model plane, but it was good. It
yeah.
actually looked good.
Can I say
Uh,
something though?
sure.
As for humanity, we're insane. Like I don't even know how to frame this well. We are in the early 1900s. We came up with the idea. The Wright brothers. I've read the McCullough book about their lives. 30 years later, we are just flying in the Andes delivering mail and just like whatever. Like holy shit, man. When you really think about it, that's wild. That's crazy. And now like, you know, rockets get invented 30 years later. Let's go to Mars. This is insane stuff. If you really like think about it, or maybe I'm just like too stupid to understand the complexity or lack thereof, but it's pretty wild that in 30-year period we're just inventing of these creatures, and then now the mail is being delivered in the Andes, and these human beings have to fly them, and doing so, which seemingly has many issues in the Andes and people crashing, so much so that steaks don't even get eaten half the time. It's an interesting endeavor, but I have a couple quotes, or one at least quote for you.
Sure.
I have no idea who said this even, and I wish I would have written this down, but I don't think even you could spoil this liquor. And I was
I
laughing
don't know who said it, but yeah.
hysterically. And then the girl that got off the boat is a perfect stranger to me. Um, I don't know why I wrote that down. Seems like it's better.
Because it happened so quickly.
Yeah.
She turned on a dime.
And then
She's in it for the long haul.
I did have a question for you. Do you still like taking baths over showers?
Not so much anymore. I used to be a big proponent of baths, and I would even get the bath bombs and things like that. Um, but yeah, that's fallen off. Now it's just showers are more of a quick endeavor for me. They used to be long showers, but now
Your showers were the longest showers in the history of showers.
that's where I think, Jonathan. That's where I get all my best ideas.
Do you have the shower notes where you can like write stuff down?
No, I commit it to memory.
That's what you think, and oftentimes it's not oftentimes people are actually wrong in thinking that you don't. Just like that Mitch Hedberg joke. When I what is it? When I come up with a joke and I don't have a pencil and paper,
I convinced myself that joke is not funny. Yeah.
But that's what you do. And I have they're called shower thoughts, and it has a pencil that writes in, and it could be like underwater. Have you? Which is
I didn't know
fascinating
this
to me.
existed. It sounds
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
NASA type shit.
yeah. It's kind of like was it Primer? We talked about this.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
the pen and the pencil. Yeah.
So it's similar to that, but maybe it can be used in space. Who knows? But you could basically write on all your shower thoughts. And so I got it because I had all these shower thoughts, as anyone does, and then my wife decides to start drawing ridiculous things here and there. But nonetheless, I would highly recommend it. I've used it frequently, and some of them are good ideas, and some of them have yet to be seen. So maybe you can come up with some yourself.
I'm going to buy this. This is my next purchase.
Okay. But
what are your thoughts on condors? Would you like to blow them up on the side of the mountain?
it's fascinating. That whole thing is I liked it, but it was like, what is happening?
Exactly. Well, exactly. You think like, why the hell are they targeting these endangered birds? I don't know if they're endangered or not, but
No, and then the way that they were like the nitroglycerin, that they're literally like while driving the plane, he's like getting in the back and he's just picking
that
it
was
up.
stressful.
Drop. I was like, what is? I was like, I like this, but I don't know how this plays into the story at all. Like,
But it did. Sure did.
I guess. I guess.
Got to kill those condors so they don't fly through the window. Kill your kid.
I mean, yeah, I guess. But nonetheless, it was fun. I think we should just do a black and white episode. Make this black and white. But anyway,
Should we move on to
should
we move on to Italy? Go to Rome?
Yeah, we don't have much time left. I blab on about your movies, so I hope you can blab on about mine. This is, I would say, a simple movie in my view. Simple in the sense of like setting it up. And I'll give you some background. I first watched this. I never remember when I first watched movies, to be honest with you. If I've seen it a lot, this is like 4 times, 3 times. I don't know. It's been probably 20 years, something like that. Maybe I saw this actually after meeting you, probably. And I was dumbstruck No, Myra recommended this to me. I know exactly when I first watched this, so it would have been 2008 or 9.
Okay.
That's when it would have been. So 15 years, 16 years. And the first time I watched it, I was dumbfounded. Like, this is unreal what type of movie this could be. And I actually looked it up, which was interesting. I looked it up after I saw the movie, and I was like, I don't mean to start off on a bad foot, but I was like, that wasn't as good as I thought it was. And then I actually looked at some notes and how I rated things previously, but it's actually rated number 4 of my all time favorite movies of all time.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but I I would have to re-rate. I wouldn't say this is number 4, but I would say it's extremely high up on the list. And I would say actually I'm gonna pull a, a nuanced version and a completely subjective version of why this film makes it better for me. But I'm still not gonna rate it as such. But I will rate it highly. But with that being said, but I think the sadness that the main character, Antonio Ricci. I'll just go into the synopsis. Unemployed Antonio Ricci, and it's going to be tough to get these names right moving forward because they're not main people in my brain. Lamberto, let's just call him Lambo, is elated
Lambo.
when he finally finds work hanging posters around a war-torn Rome. His wife Maria sells the family's bed linens, which is God, heartbreaking, to retrieve Antonio's bicycle from the pawn shop so he can take a job. However, the disaster strikes when Antonio's bike is actually stolen. His new job is doomed, and unless he can find the thief, which he gets pretty much everyone to involved. With the help of his lively son Bruno, Antonio combs the city, quite literally, growing increasingly desperate for justice. And desperate he should be. I mean, he's unemployed. He is in a very tough moment. And ultimately, the movie opens with, as you know, he's unemployed. He's looking for a job, and everything does look war torn, and everything looks pretty messed up to the extent that not only his family is messed up and reliant, of course, because he's the breadwinner of the family, and he appears to live in an environment that is very poor and impoverished, and he has the opportunity to change all of that, and he has been his lucky lotto card has been pulled, and he can't necessarily manage it, but he thinks he can. And initially, not to go into the plot details too deeply just yet, but he has a bike. The problem is he can't accept the job unless he has a bike, and his bike he just pawned to feed his family. Boy, what a
Oh,
premise!
oh, the
Like
irony.
it, the irony is one thing, but that's how the movie starts. So if that's how the movie starts, I only see it really going of one of two ways. Either this is going to be a straight drama that you're unfolding, or it's going to be one of those black and white movies where things are happy go lucky and immediate nature. This is the former.
Yeah, this is definitely a somber tone. I mean, we're dealing with post World War II Italy, um, and this is the introduction or one of the introductions to Italian Neorealism. This is it's such a big departure from what we just talked about in Only Angels Have Wings, where everything's very crafted and you're on set and it's clearly a set. Uh, this is filmed in the streets of Rome. This is
Literally.
this is
Yeah.
actors we saw across the street and said, "Hey, you look good enough. Let's get you in here. You have no experience. It's fine. Come in our
So
movie."
they literally did that, and for the boy, um, he had nobody's ever acted. Well, I shouldn't say that, but nobody generally has ever acted in the main roles. So much so that Lambo was extremely anxious while filming, and basically, the director, by the way, Vittorio De Sica, I don't know if
Good
this is
job.
right, but 89 minutes, 1948. It's not rated. Drama, 99% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 133 budget, 133,000 to 428 in the box office. But with that being said, he couldn't find Bruno when filming actually began, and he was actually like setting up shop, just like seeing where he can get particularly good shots in Rome, essentially. And in his scouting mission, he saw this boy that had a fat face and like eyes that I guess he wanted to know more about him, he's like, he's the son. So that's
What a
how he,
find.
yeah,
What a
that's
find.
that's how he got chosen. And they're all amateurs, to my knowledge. But Lambo actually, funnily, ironically enough, actually had a hard time finding work after this. The main
Really?
character, yeah, he had, quite literally, he couldn't find work after this. But of all the the planning, it really worked, or lack of planning, it really worked out quite well. You know, Alejandro Jodorowsky has a lot of films for which like there's non actors and they just come do things. Like the Holy Mountain has actual prostitutes that he brought off the streets and had them act, and was like, just dance like this, just do what you think you should. And that's probably like terrible and directing advice, but what a roll of the dice to find these characters to act this well in a movie that is almost always considered as a top 100 for people's lists, like every major critic basically, and to be portrayed in the light. And he's got a good script clearly, but the ability to affect what's in that script to screen is a different story, and he's able to do it well. And I think primarily because of the two characters that are in 90% of the shots. But the anxiety that unemployment has on Lambo is evident, and it was because primarily of he was anxious of acting, and so it
It
transferred.
came off. It came off well in the performance. Like
Yeah,
it. It.
so
It led itself to the performance for sure.
yeah, it helped. So
Uh,
um,
yeah, interesting how this started. He's Lamberto is not even in the crowd of people wanting a job. He's off to the side, and his name gets called. Um, and they ask him, do you have a bike? If you were in that position, would you lie? Would you say, yeah, I got a bike?
you gotta lie. Yeah, you have to lie. In normal situations like this, you know, I would say no, and then let fairness to rule out. But in war torn, your family's life, like this is one of those situations. Like, nope, you gotta lie. You have to lie. And if you're not lying, you're gonna go back to your wife, and she's gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
I would have sold the sheets.
Yeah, it's just yes. Can you imagine having to sell sheets to get enough money to go rebuy the bike that you pawned to feed your wife?
I can't imagine. I
That
mean,
question to me is like, wow, the bleak notion. I don't know. I'm just glad I never had to be in a position like that or have to. I hope, but I do have one point where like this is very common. I shouldn't say this is very common, but this is very common, at least in my world, that I have known people, and I'm sure you do if you just talk to them enough, like and ask questions. Where my father-in-law couldn't get a job interview after, and I don't want to go into too far details to out him, but like he couldn't get he couldn't get a job interview for any way, shape, or form, and basically had a situation something like this, a little bit like this, and it arose, and he took it, and he had to fib a little bit to some extent, and it was the only way that he could get a job interview, and ultimately got a job helping accountants, and so like that. It's very true. Like this type of situation is, and he's of the same similar age, I would say, maybe like 15 years older than this story. But nonetheless, there are stories like this that are actually real life human beings that have to lie about not having a bike. But I just can't imagine now being in a situation that this would exist in a post-war area, and you're elated about hanging up posters. It's like
what's
fuck, man,
refreshing
that's tough.
What's refreshing about watching a movie like this and such a simple story is it's a movie where it's just life of a simple person. The stakes are very high for this one person, but it's zoomed in on this one character and this simple task that he has. And it's not this grand, like, we have to save Earth. It's not a Marvel movie or something like that that's just so grandiose and big and fake. And what I liked about this was it was so zoomed in and real on this person's life. It's like, um, I follow this guy on Instagram and whatnot for a long time, but Humans of New York, and he
Yeah,
basically
Brandon.
takes yeah Brandon, and he takes a picture of somebody and kind of gets their life story, and you're basically zoomed on this one person. Everybody has a story. Everybody has hardships and struggles and things that they're dealing with, and this is kind of like what that movie is like you're
Yeah,
zoomed on this one person, which is really cool.
yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Um, I don't know. To me, even thinking about it makes me really sad. It's the music is extremely somber throughout. The music is very sad. It goes hand in hand with actually what's happening. But it's I mean it actually starts like very somber, and they sell the sheets and you're like, "Oh, this is super sad." But then he gets his bike back and you're like, "This is outstanding." It's like not only does he get his bike back, he goes in, he's excited. He looks like he's legitimately honestly like great acting, maybe he is anxious, but like he still is able to have the ability to act in the sense that he's performing happiness, and he's extremely happy while leaving the job. Um, and then the whole psychic thing, you know, happens where they're getting some information or desired information, and I was like, that's when the bike's gonna get stolen. I was like, this is like
That's the thing.
the movie's called Bicycle Thieves. Like, this is where it's gonna happen. I was like, this is don't go up there, don't go up the steps. As Lambo's walking up the steps, looking behind him, there's children coming to and fro, and you're like, oh, this is where it's gonna happen. He's the dumb character that's being built up as the idiot, and then like it never happens. Like that doesn't get stolen. And I was like, like I'm reminded of it each time I watch, and I'm like, God damn it! Look at your bike.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. It's like, this is it. This is the moment. He asked those kids
Yeah,
to watch his bike. What an idiot! And it doesn't get stolen. And I love the choice there, because then we get him riding to work for his first day, and Bruno is sitting on basically the handlebars, and it's just a beautiful moment. Like everything seems to be working out in his life. He's going to work. He's got his son. He's like, son, I'll see you here after I get off of work. I'll be right here. And then he shows up without the bike, and it's just so sad.
it's it's more than sad. I mean, it's honestly like I don't know, man. Like, cause not that I can put myself in the situation that he is in. It's just I can put myself in a situation knowing that your family is completely relying on you, and there's nothing you can do um, to that simple mistake. And I think I wrote something down that basically like captures it. Like yeah, I don't have it, but I remember it. But in one momentary lapse of judgment, your life is gone. Like your entire existence is gone, or could be. And I think that's what we take for granted, especially nowadays. Those moments really, for the majority of us, like we live a very normal, easygoing life. And the Sears catalog, whenever that came out with the 30 or 40s around this time period, like from there, leisure time, and before then, like leisure time didn't exist. Like people didn't have leisure time. Like people were just working. Think about like what happened even in the 1800s everywhere in the world. People were physically laborious to an extent that we have absolutely no idea. So much so, of course, that people were dying left and right. But like when it comes down to it, I just can't imagine that one single moment. And we're almost back there now with like cancel culture to some extent, where like momentary
How do
lapse
you
of
recover? Yeah, how do you recover
yeah,
from that?
one momentary lapse of judgment. It's like fuck. It's like his one lotto ticket just got ripped up, and there it goes, bike stolen. But what would you do? You would do exactly what he did, right? We're gonna find this fucker.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what he did. Get on the back of a car, chase after this guy. And he had some help, but the guy that stole the bike was too fast. Um, and now you're up against the clock, because if you don't find it soon, you're never going to find it. It's basically the first 48. Uh,
That's kind of what the cop said. Not. I mean, that's what I was thinking when he was like, what happened? The bike got stolen. He's like, you could tell he didn't care. He's like, okay,
yeah,
we're moving on with our lives. Like, good luck, and we'll see you another time. It's like,
I've
there's
got
nothing
it
you could do.
marked
It's like,
down. Yeah.
what do you want me to do? Like, it's a bike. Did somebody get murdered along the way? One thing I did find and I noticed from a variety of people while watching the movie is that Italians say a lot with their eyebrows,
Interesting.
without using words. I felt like there was a lot of nonverbal communication through eyebrows, raising and lowering, that was noticeable to me. Very effective in assuming emotion, which I appreciate. I like any time that you can actually add some complexity to communication.
Yeah.
Do you know what made me think about this movie generally though? Again, we're going to Italy and next month actually, and we are going. What am I saying next month? We are going this month. We're going the 26th through 8th in Venice, which is post Sweden Worlds, and so this is a complete aside from the movie and a complete aside from life, but I saw like the accordion being played and it just remind me of like sitting down in Rome with my wife. And we sat down and some man came by and immediately started playing the Godfather theme. And I was looking back, it's like, this is people, some people would take this as this is really cool. And then some people would take this, and there's a nuance, of course, but not just a binary of this is so cheesy. They always do this is blah, blah, blah. I'm of like, this is really cool environment, and that's what we did collectively. But I remember when my I was traveling to Italy in 2015 with somebody, another couple, and they didn't want to go to Florence because they were just like, oh, no, they didn't want to go Rome. Sorry, they want to go Rome because it. I don't remember the exact words, but it was just like it's just overdone. That's not the exact words, but I was just like, it's Rome. Like I'll be that guy that goes to Italy and where's the first pizza? Okay, let's go there. Okay, can I get a cannoli? Okay, can I get some gelato? Where's the best place? Like I don't give a fuck. Where's the Coliseum? I want to see the Coliseum. Like these things exist for a particular reason, but I am just always reminded when I watch Italian movies of like how old their environment is of just hanging out and homes. Homes are older than our country. You know, and like I remember
Yeah.
going to Scotland and looking at their gravestones. It's like 1300. What the like? What is happening? It's like older than America. Um, but anyway, completely different aside. But I do appreciate the moments we have, and I'm very much enjoying the Italian life we're going to be having here in a second.
Oh, I can't wait to go to Rome. I definitely want to check it out. And this was like a good little uh, appetizer, a black and white appetizer for me to see the streets from, because a lot of the film is just them searching for this bicycle, going through the market. The editing in that was so great of just them looking for the bike, seeing the bike, cutting back and forth through all the
Yeah,
different bikes. And he has a little search party, which is cool. Like people are trying to help him um, to a point.
it's hilarious though that they're looking like, oh, what do the tires look like? Like, okay, you're gonna go find the tires. I'm
You
gonna
look
go
for the
find the bike.
bell.
You go for the like. And then as you know, nobody is viewing this with us here. I'm seeing it in my head, but like in those shots you're mentioning, it's like 400 bells, 300 frames, guy working on one frame. He's like, that must be it. Let's look into here. It's you can. It's setting up for the fact that this is going to be a dismal day. That but he eventually. It appears he's lost his mind. But I would too. What would you do if you've lost your career, you've lost your livelihood, and you lost your family? Does he even have family anymore? You know, the last line in his head is probably, at least I have my family, right? It's like, do I even have that? And then
Look how he's viewed by his son. Yeah.
right, yeah, like just a downtrodden mess of a human being basically at this point. And then ultimately he wants to, for better or for worse, maybe he was drunk in the head of just like, well, we're gonna go out, shots fired. Let's go get a meal because we can't find the bike. It's never going to be found. And at least we can go to a nice restaurant where we would never typically eat. And
Oh, that mozzarella sandwich looked great.
yeah, did actually look pretty good. The quote I have here, which is not funny, but so touching. Why kill myself worrying when I'll end up just as dead anyway? And I'm like, God damn. But that it's so true though, and that's kind of going back to the point of like, you still have your family still, but kind of not. But you do have to get to a point where you're going to kill yourself worrying about it. As you say, you stay awake. at night, dreading things. Sure, you sleep like a baby. But that quote like really resonated, I think, with me. Just it's like fuck. All right, at least I can be happy for my son Bruno. We're gonna get you a meal, and we'll figure it out tomorrow. See what happens.
Do you think I haven't been to Rome, you have. Do you think that Rome now has like a city bike program?
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Maybe some scooters that you could this would be an interesting movie to do nowadays where oh my bike got stolen. Just go get a city bike.
yeah. It's it's tough. It's funny. By the way, do you remember your first bike?
My first, it was probably a tricycle,
Oh
because
yeah.
that's how you learn. But like my first, I have a special bike
Ooh.
that was handed down to me from my dad. It was his old triathlon bike.
Hmm.
It's where the one where you had the gear shifts down
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Got those switched. They've got Shimano 105s now. But yeah, it's a Falcon. It's a British bike, and I still have it, still ride it. It's great.
But that was your first bike. Your first.
No, no,
What's your
it's
first
just
bike in like childhood that you remember?
I don't know. I have had a bike stolen before. That's no fun.
That was my
Uh,
second question. What bike was that?
it was a fixed gear, single speed
Mm.
bike that I bought from a coworker in Austin, Texas. And I mean, I always locked it up, but somebody one night broke the lock, stole my bike.
Damn. So they like
Yeah,
snipped it. What they do?
yeah. I
I
mean,
guess you don't know.
uh, basically the lock was still there, but the bike was gone. So
Damn, man. Makes me so angry. The bike stealers.
yeah.
The
I've had
bicycle thieves.
my front wheel stolen too. That's even more depressing. You get to your bike and you realize you can't even ride it because the front wheel's gone. That's
So
just no
many,
fun.
so many needed that wheel though. Do you think
Yeah,
they got on a unit like a penny rider? What are they called? Penny.
a unicycle.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, that's tough.
What about
Real
you?
tough.
What's your first? I feel like you know what your first bike is.
I don't know what my first bike is, but ultimately we did share a Schwinn bike when I was a kid with my brother. The first bike that I bought on myself was a Mongoose. I paid $80 for that I saved by trading
It's a
baseball
BMX
cards.
bike.
Yeah, BMX bike. And then my friend old Richie Poo Poo Pants used to poop his pants a lot for whatever reason. This was like well after the point of wearing diapers, and he probably should have. I remember pushing him to get him on a roof, and I was like, dude, something happened here. And I realized Richie Poo Poo Pants was Richie Poo Poo Pants. Didn't call him
Was that
to
his
his
nickname
face.
that everybody
No,
knew him by, or you just gave that
no,
to him?
just me. I was a fairly nice kid back in the day. I wouldn't tell it to somebody's face, even if maybe I would. Probably not. But Richie Poo Poo Pants was moving. Never saw the kid again. We hung out like all day, every day, playing Mortal Kombat 2 and 1. He ends up leaving, and there's going to be an end to this story, mind you. He gets all of this stuff. He's like just trying to throw away. They can't sell some stuff, and way like more well off than we are, and like doesn't care about pretty much anything, or maybe his family did, but he basically gave me two 15-inch speakers, like in the boxes, like
Hmm.
subwoofers,
Yeah.
and I was like, "This is the greatest day of my life," basically, sort of thing. And I was like, "I'm gonna save one," because back in the day, this was like when I was 12 years old, something like that. Dude, bass was amazing at 12. Like it was the greatest thing in the history of life. Bass, like I remember like wanting to die in bass. Like this is how I'm going to go out. Like the bass is just going to get so low and just and I'll become one with the bass. That like literally like these are thoughts that I would have in my head. So like I got these two 15-inch speakers for free. They were just given to me. It was one of the greatest days of my life. Like the joy, it was over. I just couldn't imagine it. My mom had a radio and I connected to the radio and then I basically commandeered it. But nonetheless, to get to the actual point, I I had some friends in a trailer park. His name was Jimbo. So Jimbo, I don't even know his real name, Jim, I guess, but Jim, we just called him Jimbo. He was of that particular age where, first of all, keep in mind, I've got one 15-inch speaker at home. I don't need a second. he's of the particular age that a 15-inch speaker in your car, because 12s, if you remember, 12s are big back in the day. 15s were
Yeah.
you were upgrading, and you're from a trailer park, so you got to get some 15s. I come along. My brother was friends with Jimbo. They were 2 years older than me, and I was like, he gets word I got this speaker, and he was like, he'll do anything for the speaker. So I was like, okay, well I got a speaker. What do you got? So I got this red line bike, and I was like, not trying to show my hand. We drive over to old Jimbo's place, drop off the speaker, and I ride that red line home. Outstand. I don't know if you know what a red line is. Might be
No
before
idea.
time. Red line back in the day. This is like strict. This is like crew from. This is like straight BMX, like epic BMX bike, and it doesn't have like the actual spokes itself, but they're plastic, so they're like 5-sided basically. So if you've ever seen one of those, they're fantastic with white. Unbelievable bike. But ultimately, I had that for a number of years. Brought it with me for another 4 years, and then I left it outside of a very junky apartment complex where we used to live, and it got stolen. And I am still upset about that because that was one of my favorite bikes of all time.
Man.
Still upset. Red lines were fantastic, but why kill myself worrying when I'll end up just as dead anyway? Ouch.
Man, people who steal bikes, what's up with that?
I
It's
don't know,
fucked up.
dude. Maybe they need to get somewhere. Who knows? Maybe they need to
Read
get somewhere and they just so happen to have these very big scissors. Coincidentally.
It seems like these people that are stealing the bikes are selling them off for parts, not really needing to get somewhere. But funny enough, I remember going to Amsterdam, and with you actually, and I was amazed by the amount of bikes in that
Yeah.
city. And I read an interesting fact that a single bike gets stolen twice each year. So that same bike will get stolen twice each year. It's just a fact of life in Amsterdam.
Yeah, I mean that's why they'll look very similar. So it's just like you trade them here and there. It's like they're interchangeable, probably. Yeah, it's interesting. Would you, by the way, because he gets so fed up at the very end that he needs a bike for tomorrow. He looked the entire day. He needs a bike for tomorrow, and he goes then to steal a bike in front
He
of his
sees an
child.
opportunity. Yeah.
And it's like it makes me. It's very nerve wracking that moment of it seems like a bad dream is actually coming to fruition, and you know it is, and he keeps looking back. He's like, "Am I going to do this? Am I going to
Because
do this?"
he becomes the person that he was searching for. He becomes the villain.
But he had to. He has a job. Like I would do the same. Would you steal? Maybe I wouldn't do that. I don't know, man. It's such a tough. Like,
I would ask, like, can I run the streets? I'm pretty fast. I don't need a bike.
no, but they said you had to have a bike. Remember, he goes, I can walk pretty quickly, and he's like, no,
Yeah, I guess you have
it's
to
not
have a
gonna work.
bike.
They had to have a bike, but it's just so tough, man. Especially after the day he went through, and he also spent money that he didn't have feeding his child.
And drinking wine.
Yeah,
The kid
yeah,
was drinking wine. That's maybe an Italian thing. I don't know.
I don't.
1948.
Yeah, 40s, but such a tough one. It just seemed like a bad dream was happening, and then ultimately, he does go to steal the bike to help his family, and it's interesting. Like, I almost started laughing because the amount of human beings. So like nobody except himself, when the scene was his bike was being stolen, nobody helped him, and there was one person chasing him. It was just him, Lambo, like chasing the guy down when he got off the ladder. And now there's like 4,000 people chasing him down when he steals a bike. And I'm like, where were all these people when his bike got stolen? What's going on here? This is outrageous. But he it looks like he's going to get taken in front of his kid, and then ultimately the guy doesn't want to press charges because it's just going to, it's too much of a headache, and for whatever reason he decided to let him.
I think there was kindness in that gesture and that man, but I also think it's because he saw Bruno, and he's like, if I put his father away, this is going to ruin the family. And he showed mercy, which the whole time Lambo was searching for the bike, he was ready and willing to press charges. Um, and it was an interesting scene. Do you think the bicycle thief or the alleged bicycle thief faked having a spasm attack, or was that a real thing?
What do you
What do you think?
what do you think, you idiot? Yes. Yes, it was faked. Fucking fake. Yeah, it's just and I don't mean to say this in a non-sincere manner, but like I started off by saying that I rate this movie extremely highly, but it's not a fourth favorite movie of all time. I think it would still be in my might be in my top 10, 15.
I mean, just the
It's
just the
high, super
influence,
high, super high.
just the influence of this movement of Italian neorealism, and then being able to say, "Hey, we don't need a studio. We can film on location. We can pick people off the streets, and we can tell these stories
Yeah.
in a really interesting way." And a lot of the studios, you have these like big close-ups on faces and things like that. Well, here it's like these wide shots of the camera just sitting and like seeing the actors moving through the frame and through the city and through the streets. And it influenced, I mean, a ton of directors moving forward.
Do you know how he
So,
got those shots? I don't know if you look deeply into this, but basically he was, of course, fearful. A lot of the shots actually grew a lot of attention, and so like there's a lot of people watching, people actually filming because I think people
could
were addicted.
people thinking about stealing the camera or something like that?
Probably that one. The
Very
camera
meta.
thief. So it's interesting because he actually had planned um, for not moments of having his camera stolen, but moments that the expectation that they're amateurs and they're non actors is that they're not going to be great. And he wanted to get a perfect angle or try to at least. And so oftentimes he'd have like 5, 6 cameras set up from different angles to get that one single shot. And whatever was the best, he actually took um, to put in the film, which that's not like groundbreaking material, but for back in the day,
Yeah.
that's gonna make your production much higher, which it also went over budget, as you might imagine. But terrific movie. I just both of these flicks for very different reasons. I thoroughly have enjoyed them. Um, why don't we do you want to go to the rating and then do our top five? Or do
Yeah,
you
let's
want
do
to
ratings real quick. I think that's ratings time. We should have like a little
ratings?
intro to rating. Ratings time.
So I went. Oh, let's do Only Angels Have Wings because you did yours first.
Okay, Only Angels Have Wings. Again, Cary Grant, superstar performance. Um, I love this movie. This is a movie that I definitely feel like I'm going to watch in like 3 years' time and just love it again. Like you said, the world building, the creating of it, the whiplash in tone from it being a searing comedy to a daring drama to an adventure. All around, this is. Are we doing? How are we doing these ratings now? Are we doing glasses? What
Just
what did we
total.
decide on?
No. I wanted to do. We're going to always do both.
Okay. Well, this is an 89.6.
Got it. And mine is extremely similar. I have an 88.05. And the world building is fantastic. And my favorite part of this whole movie is the world building. And I liked a lot to do with the film itself, but the world building is just, I don't know. I'm just thinking of all the time period, like Gone with the Wind, even though it's not a world building, but just the environment of it. Wizard of Oz, taking 39 again. It's just, wow. I just am left
Yeah.
like speechless, honestly. It's terrific. And it's took three basic images to create that.
Yeah.
And then you could throw in some animals getting bombed and you don't even you don't even care. It's so wild, but like it's just crazy. Anyway, 88.05.
Cool. What
So
about Bicycle Thieves?
yeah, I've got to caveat this. I won't go into too far of details, but I went back and forth on this, and then I initially rated it, um, and then what I always do is like compare it to see what it is like, and then I'll change it. But then I was like, should I change this? And I was like, nope, I'm just gonna keep it as pretty much exactly as I had it. Um, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I think the totality of actually researching the movie helped the even greater portion of this. But I will say that I rated this higher than any other movie I've done so far, primarily because of doing research and the enjoyment I actually have of it. But I gave it a 96.05, which is slightly better than Sideways, which I didn't know that.
Interesting. Wow, that's fascinating. Um, for me, this movie is holds like this influential kind of idea behind it. I love the simple storyline. The performances are amazing from amateur actors, or not even amateurs, just a factory worker and a kid. Um, the music was great. The tone. I mean, it's a sad film, but there are funny bits, which is life sprinkled in. Um, again, more this film is more influential, obviously, than Only Angels Have Wings, I would dare to say. Um, and I gave this an 89.4.
So a total of, and do you ever score by comparison? Because I just score.
I just score. Yeah.
Total for Only Angels Have Wings, 88.825, 92.725 for the total of our scores. That puts us still many other better movies. So, top five black and white animals.
Ooh, black and
Look
white
at
animals,
us.
top five.
I can do a black and white cookie right now. I haven't had a cookie in a long period of time.
Do you like more of the black or the white of the cookie?
I like both. I like to switch.
Okay. All right.
But it depends. It depends if I've just had black or if I've just had white.
It sounds kind of racist, but hey.
I like both. I literally do. Number five. What do you got? I've got zebras.
Ooh, zebras. That was almost going to make my list, but just didn't quite make it.
Yeah.
My number five, I do like zebra. Uh, uh, they're the referee of animals. Um, I go with penguins. Penguins,
Penguins.
number
Wow.
five.
That's shocking. It's just, I don't know about your list, but I know about mine. In number four, I've got pandas. Big fan of pandas. The only way they exist is people to take care of them. Strange animal, creature. A
Is
lot of
that
fun,
true?
but yeah, they don't exist in the wild. Yeah, they're dead.
They love their bamboo, though.
They do, and koalas. Both of them should not exist, but nonetheless, pandas.
Number four for me. This is going to be kind of controversial, but I love a great defense system, and this is one of the best defense systems: a skunk. Skunky.
What are the defense systems do you enjoy or do you appreciate?
Claws, teeth, um, venomous poison spouting out. But yeah,
What? Why do you like defense systems?
I just think it's fascinating how we've evolved, or animals have evolved, in so many different ways that a an odor can be considered a defense system.
That's your defense system. Odor.
It is, yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Number three, I've got magpies because I
Ooh,
don't really like birds, to be fair. And I actually debated whether or not to have old magpies on here, but I think the magpie is actually a beautiful creature. In England, I like magpies.
okay. This number three for me is just kind of like the uh, it's black, it's white, it's a little gray. We're going Arctic wolf.
Hey, look at
Uh,
that. I would,
yeah,
yeah, it's more like a gray ish, but
it's a
what am I
blend
to
of black
say?
and white.
I like wolves, Arctic wolves, especially. Hard life up there. Number two.
Number two for me.
Yeah, what do you
I'm
got?
going to go first on the number two. We've got orcas, killer whales, Free
So
Willy.
do
What are we
I.
talking about? There we go.
Look at us. There's not a lot of black and white animals out there, or maybe there are. We're probably overlooking a ton. And what do you have as number one? I'll go first with number one to leave it for you. Offensive. Your top five because penguins are absolutely number one. They're the coolest fucking creatures on earth that are black and white. What are you talking about? Penguins, penguins, penguins. There's only one answer.
They made a whole documentary with Morgan Freeman. I got to give you that.
Yeah. Where's your orca? Actually, there are documentaries on orcas, but they're getting killed.
There it is. Yeah. My number one, it was on your list, but mine's bumped up a little higher just because I'd love to live that life, man. Giant panda. Sit around,
You
eat some
you
bamboo.
you would like that life. Yeah. Yeah. Would you like that life? I mean, you're running 10Ks now.
That's true. Giant pandas aren't running 10Ks, but I will say when you go to the zoo, there's always a good gathering of people just trying to see the giant pandas. Like sometimes giant pandas are kind of tucked away, but they're just
Yeah.
waiting. They're waiting to see you.
Yeah. They're at zoos. There's only a few animals that I don't really feel bad for at zoos. A panda is definitely one of them. A giraffe is definitely one of them. Pretty much nothing else. They shouldn't. We shouldn't have zoos, but giraffes and just hanging out, not getting eaten by lions, and then pandas just chilling, clearly
Chilling.
chilling, just having the blast. Yeah. By the way, I would remove this if you can immediately. The coloring,
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that's a good idea.
the
All
mark
right,
because
so
I've ruined one already. That's why I sent you 16.
thank you,
And
sir.
what are we doing next week?
Next week we're gonna get a little
You should use the
little.
blue thing I gave you.
Yeah, that's true. We're getting Dead on Arrival here next week. The Land of the Dead, the Land of the Living Dead. We're going zombie films.
Zombie,
Zombies.
zombie, zombie. Hey. If you don't start with that music after the introduction, if you don't mix that,
What are we doing?
I don't
Yeah,
know
what
what
are
we're
we
doing with
doing?
our lives. I mean, we'll probably get banned from YouTube, but nonetheless, until next week, people, I cannot wait to have a burger and fries. I feel like I'm just watching myself dwindle down, and I want to have a glass of wine and some in a burger. I have 2 weeks
Ooh,
from today.
it's almost there.
Goodbye, folks. Catch us on Scene Weekly and all major platforms.